Hello and good afternoon, CSI 158 section 841 and 847 students for the second 8-week term at Anne Arundel Community College, and this is the Cisco Networking Academy Routing and Switching Essentials course. All right, today's PacketTracer tutorial is on PacketTracer 6.4.1.6, and this is definitely one of the most valuable PacketTracer activities that I've come across in all of the tutorials we've done. And this is definitely going to help you understand summarization, and there is definitely a lot of work to do in this PacketTracer tutorial. So let's jump right in. We're going to calculate summary routes, and we've got 4 things that we need to calculate right now. We need to calculate the summary route to reach the headquarters LANs, to reach the branch 1 LANs, and the summary routes to reach the branch 2 LANs. And interestingly enough, it shows us the LAN addresses here. It does not show us the WAN addressing. Now we have that over here with the serial interfaces. So if I were to highlight or hover over the interface there, you could see it's serial 001 and serial 000. And if I highlight over this, this is serial 010. And so we can figure this out. So let's go ahead and work through these and see if they actually are expecting us to dig these up here out of the addressing table, or if the LAN addressing that's being shown is all we need to summarize. Okay, so this is definitely going to be one where we get a workout with the notes over here. And so let me go ahead and change my color. I prefer to do it with the black to start with. Okay. All right. So the first Part 1, Step A says, what is the summary route to reach the headquarters LANs? And so when I look at the headquarters LANs, I see 172.22.66.0, and then that's going to be a /23. Let me title this up here HQ. So this is headquarters. And then I see a 172.22.64.0/23. All right, so all we're going to do right now is just a summarization for these 2 LAN networks. And again, we've taken a look at this, right? Immediately, when we're taking our exam, let's focus in first off on the /23s. So we know that the subnet mask will have to be, or the CIDR notation, will have to be less than or equal to, right, in our answer. Okay, so it's going to have to be less than or equal to /23. And so let's work this out. So these 8 bits, this octet, are all the same. The next 8 bits are all the same. And so this is the interesting octet for us here. And this is the one we need to figure out, all right, how do these 8 bits stack up against each other? So let's go ahead and do 66 first. So 128 is the first bit in this octet. 64 is the next, so that one would be there. So now we know it's not going to be 32 or 16. It's not going to be 8 or 4, but it will be 2 and not 1. And so this equals 66. All right, let's take a look at the 64. This is an easy one here. So we know it's going to be, whoops, we know it's going to be 64 and then all zeros. And that equals 64. All right. So remember, we're looking to compare, are they the same, right? So 0, 0 is the same, 1 and 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way to right here. And so I'm going to draw my line right there. So this is where they are no longer the same. So these 2 guys here are 16 bits. And now we know we have 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this would be a /22, and everything else that follows it is going to be zeros. So we know that the summary address here would be 172.22.64 dot, whoops, dot 0. And now, is that right? So let's go ahead and take a look here. So we've got zeros, right? But everything's matched up and it's all the way down to the zeros, but the last value that we have is this 64. All right, so we're saying that it's going to be a 172.22.64.0/22. And remember, right, our answer, right, and this is an A here, our answer has to be less than or equal to a /23. So this is certainly a viable answer. And we're going to go ahead and leave this guy here. And so again, this is for our, whoops, this is for our HQ network. Let me escape out of that. So this is for the HQ network. Okay, and this was a stray character here. All right, so this is for our HQ network. All right, so the next network that we're going to take a look at is going to be the branch 1 LANs. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a peek at, again, the branch 1 LANs. And so let me go ahead. We're going to give it its own page here. So flip the page and we're going to say this is going to be branch number 1. All right, and so for branch number 1, what we're looking at again is we've got a 172.20.0, sorry, I had to take a look at that again, .0/25, and then we have a 172.20.70.128/25. And so these are our two subnets that we're going to try to summarize here. And we're taking a look at this and we can see all the way here up to the 4th octet, whoops, up to the 4th octet, everything is the same. So we're interested in these 2 octets, and this is definitely going to be an easy one for us to look at. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the value of that is going to be 0. So that is going to match this value here, or the value of the octet, not the 25. All right, and then we need a value of 128, which is simply 1 and then 7 zeros. Get that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the value here is 128. All right, so now we need to figure out where do these stop being the same, identical. And so it's actually right there. It's right out of the gate. So we know that these 3 octets add up to 24 bits. We have no additional bits, right, to count from, because immediately on the 25th bit, they're different. So we know that this is going to be a /24, CIDR notation, right? And so it's actually going to be 172.20.70.0/24. And again, this is going to be branch number 1. Whoops. I get that again. Branch number 1. And that line got put in there by accident. Okay, so that was branch number 1. So we'll flip the page. And now we're going to take a look at branch number 2. And branch number 2 is going to be a 172.22.68.0/24. And then we've got 172.22.60. Oops. Let me erase that guy out of there. So we've got the 60. Go back over to the pin. 69.0/24. And I keep hitting this button on the pen. So let me back up here. All right, so we'll start one more time here. So branch number 2 is 172.22.68, and we're switching colors here. And that's going to be a /24. And then I've got 172.22.69.0/24. So we know that the subnet mask is going to have to be, or the answer, the CIDR notation answers that we would be interested in will have to be a /24, and that have to be less than or equal to, right, a /24. So let's see what happens here. So we know that the first 16 bits are the same. So now let's take a look at the interesting octet here, which is this third octet. So there's going to be a little work to do here to figure out what the value or what bits match in that third octet. So we know that 128 would not match, but they're definitely going to have a 64 and then 0, 0, and that takes us down to the next 4 bits, which will be 0, 1, 0, 0, and that equals 68, because the value would be a 4 and 64 is 68. So then here we want to do 69, so it'd be 0, 0, 0, and then it's going to be 1, whoops, we'll leave it red, it'll be 1, 0, and 1, and that equals 69. All right, so they're the same here and here and here, right, all the way up to the very last bit in this third octet. So if the first 16 bits are the same, we've got 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we know our answer is going to be a /23. That also meets the requirement that it will be less than or equal to a /24. And the value would be 64 and 4. So we're going to have 172.22.68, whoops, 68.0/23, and that will be for branch number 2. All right, so let's make sure we bring that back up. All right, that's branch number 2. So now let's flip back over here, and finally we're going to take a look at, and let me switch my color back here. All right, there we go. We're now going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the final step in part 1, which is what is the summary route from the ISP router to reach all of the wireless LANs. And so we're going to break this down. So they all start with 172, right? So the first 8 bits are going to be the same. However, when you break down the next octet, you'll notice that the values are 20 as well as 22. So this octet, these next 8 bits here, these are going to be the interesting, or it's the interesting octet, right? And now we're going to break this out and try to provide a value here. And so you'll notice from our previous exercises, this starts to become a little easier. So 128, 64, 32, now 16 will be selected, right? And then not 8, but 4, and then not 2 and not 1, and this equals 20. And then 22 would be 0, 16, not 8, 20, 22, right? And that equals 22. So when we look at this, these are the same. It's right here, and I'll go ahead and flip my colors, switch colors here. It's right here where they're no longer the same. So these 6 bits here are the same, but these last 2 are not. So switching back over to black, what we have is 14 bits are the same. So we know we're going to be a /14, right? And then everything after that would be zeros, and our value spots here are 16 is the value of this bit location, and 4 is the value of that bit location. So what we're going to have is 172.20.0.0/14, and that's going to be for the ISP going into, I'll just put the LANs, going into the LANs. And so that is how you summarize those addresses. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now is we've got some configuration ahead of us here. So let's take a look at part 2, configure summary routes. So configure the summary routes on the headquarters router to all other networks. So the summary routes on the headquarters router here, we need to go ahead and configure a directly attached summary route on HQ to reach the branch 1 LANs. right? And so again, this is asking for directly attached, and that indicates to us, hey, it's going to be an interface on this router. So we go from user exec to privilege exec into global config. And so my route to reach the branch 1 LANs, if I were to come back over here and go back, and we'll go to branch 2. So there's branch 1, and hold on one second. There's branch 1. Okay. So there are the branch 1 LANs. We know that we're going to be looking at a 172.20.70.0. And so let's see if this works. So from global config mode, I'm going to type an IP route, and I'm basically saying that to get to this summary route, right, and it's going to be a directly attached route, I'm going to put in here 172.20.70, and let me take one last peek, .0, and then it's going to be a /24, which is 255.255.255.0, and then again directly attached. So from the headquarters router to branch 1, the interface that we would want to use is serial 000. And the key here to remember is that it's a directly attached static route, or summary static route, and that directly attached interface is not the interface on the far end router. It's on the router on which we're creating the summary route. So the HQ router in this case. And so I'll type in enter, and now we've added in our summary route. Again, configuring a directly attached summary route on HQ to reach the branch 1 LANs. All right, and our completion percentage did not increment, so let's take a look and see why. Let's come back over here and look at the summary that we did for branch 1. And we had everything correct here. So we've got the 24 bits, so it's going to be a /24, and it'll be 172.20.70.0 /24, and we created it as directly connected. So let's go ahead and make sure that it's not asking for the network that runs between these two guys, and it shouldn't be asking for that, but let's make sure it's not. And let me go ahead and do the recursive, and let's take a look for the next route, which will be IP route. So we're going to do a recursive summary route on the HQ router to reach the branch 2 LANs. So if I come over here, we've summarized branch 2 right here. All right, so IP route is going to be 172.22.68.0. So 172.22.68.0, and again it's going to be a /23. So that's going to be 255.255, and then it's not going to be 255, it would be 254.0. And it wants it to be recursive, so we need to know from the headquarters what the IP address is of the serial 001 interface, and it's a 172.22.71.6. So let's go ahead and add that in. So we'll say 172.22.71.6, and let me double check that. 172.22.71.6. All right, and so we'll add that one in there, and now we've jumped up to 14 as complete. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll continue to move on here. All right, so next we're going to have to configure the summary routes on the branch 1 router, and we're going to come back. We'll take a look at this guy right here in a few minutes to make sure that we've got that correct. If I were to do check results right now and take a look at my assessment items, you can see that the route 0 is incorrect. So we know that something's wrong there, and we'll come back to that guy here in a second. Okay, so the next step is configure the summary routes on the branch 1 router to other networks. And so we're going to configure a recursive summary on branch 1 over to the other network. So we'll go from user exec into privilege exec, and we're going to move from privilege exec into global config, and I'm going to say we need a recursive summary route on branch 1 to reach the headquarters LANs. And so we know, looking at the summary of the headquarters LANs, I think we did that first, and there they are. So we'll pull those guys up. So I'm going to say IP route, and we're trying to get to 172.22.64.0, and then /22 would be 255.255. And now this will not be 255, it would be 252.0. And again, it wants a recursive summary route. And so we're going to provide the next hop IP address of the headquarters router, and we want this interface here, serial 000, serial 000, which is 172.22.71.1. So 172.22.71.1, and that's our recursive route. And let's double check, and it is a /22. So we add that in, and as you can see, our completion percentage has gone up. All right, now configure a recursive summary route on branch 1 to reach the branch 2 LANs. Now this is going to look very similar to the statement we just had. We're going to have the same next hop because branch 1 and branch 2 are not directly connected. So that traffic is going to have to come up here to this interface again, the serial 000, to get down to branch 2. So let's go ahead and jump over to branch 2. There's branch 1 and then branch 2. Okay, so this is a 172.22.68.0. It's a /23. So I can pull this up, and it's a /23, so it's going to be a 254. 22.68.0. Let's confirm that. 172.22.68.0, and let's see what the completion percentage does. It should increase to 42, and it did. Okay, so those are our steps on branch router 1. So I'm going to I'm going to write mem. All right, step 3. We're going to configure the summary routes on the branch 2 router to other networks. So we're definitely going to need to know, and it looks like it wants a directly attached as well as a recursive summary. So here we go. We'll go from user exec into privilege exec into global config mode. So let's go ahead and branch 2 to branch 1. So the IP route over to the branch 1 summarized addresses. I actually have a little space here. Let me slide this guy over. So this is going to be to get to 172.20.70.0, and it's a /24. We're going to take the next hop address of that interface right there, serial 001, and the address of that is 172.22.71.5. So 172.22.71.5, and we should go up to 56 points here if we've got that correct. So let's take a look. All right, so we're having the same problem. So it looks like there's something wrong in our summarization here on branch 1. And so let's take a look at that again. Let's confirm the branch 1 LAN addresses, 172.22.70 and 172.22.70, so it's .0 and .128. And so we have this correct. The first 24 bits are the same, and then the 25th bit right here is different. And so this should be a /24. And did I read those wrong? I certainly did. So we've got 20 in there, and that's our problem. And so the second octet here for branch 1 should be 22. So let's go ahead and fix that. Again, sometimes you end up with typos. It's always good to go back and double check. And so now I'm going to add this route in. So it should be 172.22. Whoops, 172.22. Let me take the no out. All right, and now we should get our points that would push us up to 56. And it doesn't look like it is moving the points for us at all. So 172.22.70.0, and it didn't like the 255, 172.22.71. So let's go back and check on the very first thing we did on the HQ router, and let's take a look at that as well. So this was asking, configure a directly attached summary route on HQ to reach the branch 1 LANs. All right, so then let's go ahead and do a show run and take a look at the two routes that we have. So the branch 1 LANs, here's where we had our typo. So we're going to cut and paste this. All right, we'll copy that, and I'm going to say global config mode IP route, and we'll paste that in there, and I'm going to change it to 22. So we'll add that in, and then I'm going to say, whoops. So we'll do that, and then I'm going to come back and say, and so we've got the points there, so I'll say no IP route, and I'll put the 20, which is the one that we had in there that was incorrect. So now if I do a do show run, and you can see we've got the right route in there, our points have incremented. So there it is, 22.70.0, it's a 255, 255. So we know that this is correct because we've incremented our completion points. So let's go ahead and end, and we'll do a write mem. Excuse me, so again, we're back here on branch 2, right? So directly attached summary route to branch 1, and we did a recursive route, right? All right, so we'll do Control A, type in no, we'll pull that guy out of there. Then we're going to pull it back up, and we're just going to pull this back. So directly attached, we would want to have the interface on the branch 2 router, which is serial 001. All right, and then we go up to we've got our points there. All right, so we'll type in. We'll do a quick write mem. Let me do a show run. I believe we have one more to create. So there are the two that we've created. One more router to touch, that is. So again, save the config. Okay, and I did the recursive. So configure a recursive summary route on branch 1 to reach branch 2. We did that. So directly attached on branch 2 to reach branch 1, right? Configure a recursive summary. So we'll pull this back up on branch 2 to reach the headquarters LAN. So let's back up here and find our headquarters. There we go. Okay, so we need to go into global config mode, and we're going to create a recursive summary route to the headquarters LAN. So 172.22.60.4.0/22, and let's confirm that. Yep, /22. And so if it's recursive, we're going to use that next hop IP address of 172. And let me double check that here from branch 2. It's going to be the next hop IP of serial 001, which is 2271.5. 22.71.5. And I went ahead and put in the slash notation. We want 255, 255, and a /22 to be 252.0. And that's a recursive summary, and we should see our point total jump, and we do. Okay. And so that's it on branch 2. So I'm going to type in write mem. And now it says verify connectivity. So verify that all switches and routers can ping other devices in the topology. But let's check our results because we're at 84 points here. So it's possible that we're missing something. The ISP. So we need a static route for the ISP. So let's go back and take a quick look at that. So the summary route on the ISP. So where did we miss that? Configure a summary route on ISP to reach all networks. And so this is nice because we did all that work to figure out what that summary route should be. And so let's go ahead now and use that summary route. Whoops. Use that summary route we created, which is a 172.20. All right, so user exec into privilege exec into global config. So IP route to get to 172.20.0.0, and then we're going to do a /14. So that would be 255. And again, so it's right here, right out of the gate at 252.0.0. And we're going to go ahead, and it says a summary route. Is it directly connected? It just says configure a summary route on the ISP to reach all networks. So it doesn't tell us if it should be directly attached or recursive. So we'll use directly attached, and we'll see what we get. So serial 0/0/1. And does that round out the point total? It does not. So it's probably not looking for directly attached, so we'll do the no, and we'll come back and we'll change this, and we're going to make this the next hop IP. We'll make it recursive. So we'll take a look at this interface here, which is serial 010, and the IP address there is a 198.0.0.2. So let's add that in. So 198.0.0.2, and see if it was looking for a recursive. And it's not, and so that tells me there may be something wrong in either the summarization or my subnet mask. So let's take a look at that. So IP route 172.20.0.0. And you know what it could be? It could very well be that, yes, it is. So the summary route here, right? So again, we use 20 here, okay? And now we're realizing, you know what? That it's all 22. So, in effect, this wasn't correct. So all of these bits would have matched. It would have come down to the third octet where we would have needed to figure out 70, 64, 66, 68, 69. So that's okay. It's all part of the troubleshooting process. Let's go ahead and let's work that out right now. And so we'll take a look at all of the different addresses. So we know that the 172.22 is going to match for all of them. So we know that, let me write this down here real quick. So we know that 172.22 is going to work for everything. So 16 bits are automatically going to match. Now we need that third octet. So one of them is 68, and so that's going to be 0, 1, 0, 0, and then 0, 1, 0, 0, and that equals 68. We're going to take a look at 69, which will be 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, right? And that's LAN, or branch 2. So then we're going to do 64 and 66. So 64 would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and that'll be 64. 66 would be very similar. It's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. And that's 64, and that would be 66. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to do 70 and 128. So 128 is the easy one. And that equals 128. And then we've got, make sure I get this right, and 0. So all zeros. Right? And that equals 0. So when we look to summarize here, right away, this guy makes it so that these, right, this set right here are dissimilar. They're not all the same. So the first 16 bits are going to be correct, right? So it's going to be a /16. It's a terrible 6. And it would be 172.22.0.0/16. And that is our true summary address. And that, some bad 6s there. Okay. So it's a /16 because, again, the first 16 bits are the same. The 17th bit, they are not identical. So let's go ahead and put that back in over here. So let me do a no on this. Control A, no. And then we'll pull this back up. So it's going to be a /16, which will be at 255, 172.22.0.0, and then let me go ahead and do directly connected to see if we've got serial 0/0/1, if that rounds things out. And is it looking for directly connected? It's not. So I'm going to pull that back and we'll do a no. And so now we'll go ahead and enter in that next hop IP of 198.0.0.2, and let's see if that finishes things up. And that does not either. So we still have a problem, so we need to continue to troubleshoot. So let's go ahead and take a look. Aha! So there's the problem right there. When I looked at the value, I saw the 0, but I missed the 7. So let's come back over here. So this last one would not have been 0. It should have been 70. So it would have still been 0 and then 64 and then the 4, 68, 69, 70, right? So let's make a quick check, the 128. So again, I looked at the 128 and not the 70, so we're going to have to come back. So this should have been a 0. So 70 would have been 64 and then 4, 68, 69, 70, right? So then this would be not 128. This should have a value of 870. Actually, let me go ahead and erase that guy up real quick. All right, so let's take this away. And it's all part of the troubleshooting process, right? And being able to look back and then quickly identify where you could have made a mistake. All right, so this would have been 64, 68, 70. And this would have been 64, 68, 70. So let's make sure 70 and 70. Okay. So we're good there with 70 and 70. So then these would have been the same. These would have been the same. So would have this bit position, this bit position. And so then it would have been here where we no longer have the bits the same. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we're looking at a /21, right? A /21. And it wouldn't have been 172.22.0. That 0 in the middle there. And let's go ahead and pull our eraser down real quick. So this 0 in the middle here would actually be the value of where the bit position ends. And we've got 128, we've got 64. So 64.0. So 172.22.64.0. All right, does everybody see that? Because this is the value, right? And these bits are all still the same. So that is the value position of 64. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's enter this route in here. Again, so I'll pull this up, Control A, we'll do no. And then I'm going to pull it back up here. And we're at a /21. And so let me pull this back. All right, so 172.22.64, whoops, 72.22.64.0, and a /21 is going to be 255.255. So if it was a 23, it would be 254. If it was a 22, it would be 252. If it's a 21, it's going to be 248. All right, so I think we've got it. We're going to do it as a recursive here, and let's see what happens. And does a recursive route give us the points? It does not, so we'll pull it out because it's possible that it's looking for directly connected, and I'll pull the no out here in a second. Whoops, 0/0/1. And let's take that out and add that in. And there we go. It was looking for directly connected. Okay, so let me type end, write mem. And again, it's common to make mistakes, but make sure that when you do, you go back and you double check and you work things out. And start at the very first step that you took. Double check to make sure that your numbers are correct, and make sure that you didn't see the 0 and not the 7, or that you're not transposing the numbers as they appear on the screen. All right, I'll leave the checking the connectivity up to you. We know right now we've got 100 out of 100. Again, this has been PacketTracer tutorial on PacketTracer 6.4.1.6 on route summarization. Again, remembering that key sort of trick is that the CIDR notation in your answer will have to be equal to or less than the CIDR notations that you're summarizing. All right, so that was our summary route for the headquarters. This was the one here where we missed the number. That was branch number 2. And again, that was a spare sheet there. Branch number 1, where we also made a mistake, where this should have been a 22. We saw it as a 20. And headquarters. All right, best of luck, and I'll see you all this week.